What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another video. Albion, this is my private island that you can get in the game. So there's many things you can do on the island. If you hit H, you get to your building menu. So here's all of your same things you'll see in town, whether it's Limhurst, Bridgeport, Murtlock, etc. The tool makers, the stone makers, repair guys, weavers, tanners, smelters, lumbermen, or lumber mill, for refining all of your resources. Then you can get into the farming side of it, where you can alchemist, cooking, milling, butcher, saddler, which is what you use to turn your animals into mounts, farming, which is crops, herb garden, which is you'll see right there just above at the very top of the screen, and then pasture, which is growing like the chickens, the geese, etc. for the eggs. You'll get cows, there's sheep, there's pigs, there's many different things, and then the kennels for a lot of your exotic more mounts, like the wolf and stuff like that. And then you can get into, these are for where you craft a weapon. So any of the swords, daggers, etc., maces, hammers, then all your staves, and then the hunter's lodge, which ironically I find it kind of weird that a lot of your offhands are actually in the hunter's lodge versus in the mage tower. But excuse me. So like the torches, the crypt candles, etc. Like I'm using the mist collar currently. It's all in the hunter's lodge for some reason. And then you've got to build a guild hall or a house, and the house is where you can get your laborers. So here's the houses, and then you see I have a butcher, a smelter, and then I have an alchemist down there. So these are the herb gardens. One thing I wanted to kind of say is, once you plant your herbs, your plants, whatever it is that you're farming, you can use your holy crap, what am I trying to say? The focus. Yes, you can use your focus to water the plants. Now, it takes roughly about 800 that I've noticed, at least in the levels of stuff that I am trying to water. So you can get a full plot watered with 1 day's worth of focus, because with premium you get 10,000 and there's 9 plots. So you'll get a full plot and then just a tad bit of a second one. What I've learned to do is, at least for me and my experience and what I've learned, I don't use my focus to water my plants. I in turn just let them grow. And yes, it is a much smaller portion of the herbs or the plants that you're gathering, but I use the focus instead to craft whatever it is that I'm crafting. I don't know if that's the most efficient way to do things, but that's what I do. I mean, I guess if you're just growing the herbs or the plants and going to be selling the raw resources, then yes, absolutely use your focus. But since I'm crafting them into other things, I'm using the focus to craft. With the laborers, I have not seen a benefit, at least anywhere that I can find on YouTube, of having your house go beyond tier 5. So once you hit tier 5, you can have your 3 laborers, and beyond tier 5, you can't have any more. Like at 6, you can't have 4, 7, you can't have 5. It's still 3. The only benefit that I can see raising your laborers, or raising the house level up, is the fact that you can raise your laborers. A tier 5 house cannot have a tier 6 laborer, and etc. So here's my laborers right here. Oops. Let's get off the ox. So here's my laborers. These are my stone crafters. And you can see he's a tier 4, so he's giving me tier 4, and he's right at tier 5. So I need to make sure that I give him his books back. Now, one thing I don't know, maybe if you do know, you can leave it in the comments. I have, excuse me, I have all of the trophies, and I have all of the general books. I have all tier 5 table. I have a tier 5 beds for them. And for some reason, I can't seem to get them beyond the 130%. I don't know. If any of you out there know how to do that, can you please let me know? Because it'd be nice to get them up to that 150% production for bringing in stuff. But what I was saying is, with the tier 5s, you can't see, like, this guy's at 150. I don't know why he's at 150 and the rest of them are not. I don't know. What was I saying? Oh, with the tier 5 houses, you can only get up to tier 5 with your resources, which I do understand that, you know, tier 6 and 7 and 8 are obviously going to provide a much more revenue in the long run. But to get your stuff built on this island, it costs so much silver. So I wouldn't recommend doing what I did and going into the labor working or with the building up your island until way later in the game, because I have invested so much of my funds and the amount of return that I'm getting is not sufficient, at least in my mind, for what's been invested. Now, maybe later on, you know, down the road when I have much more frugal money to spend, then maybe. But as of right now, it's honestly not. Um, the farming, though, the good thing about it is rather than having to go out in the world and try to gather or find materials, you farm it up here, and you can. Not that you can't go find potatoes in the world, but rather than having to go buy it from the marketplace, that's what I was trying to say. You just farm it up yourself, and you can turn out into crafting. Now, one major thing I have learned, and I learned the hard way, unfortunately, is when it comes to your seeds, don't buy your seeds from this gentleman over here, and I'll show you why. So, I've been doing herb gardening. So if I come down here to say even the mushrooms, it's 3,468 per bag, or the comfrey is 5,780, right? And you need 9 per plot. So if what was that, 3,000, right? Oops. 3,500. So you think about it, roughly you're going to be about what, 29,000 silver for one plot. Now if you come over here, if you noticed when I was let me go buy a journey back to Bridgeport, when you are harvesting your crops, you take the chance, like here and here, you see you get bags. You don't always get them, but you have an opportunity of getting them, and you have a higher probability of getting them when you're using your focus for watering. But it was 3,400 for the mushrooms. Now, when you come over here, you can go to farming herbs for me, and then the mushrooms. 3,600. So in this case, it's actually cheaper to buy from him. Normally, it's not. What was the other one? It was 3,700, I believe. I could be wrong. One second. Oh, let's go to seeds. That's why. Oops. Farm seeds. Farm garden seeds. There we go. Comfreys. So there you go. 5,093 per bag. And what was it back at the island? I don't know. It's actually, it honestly looks like right now it is cheaper to buy from him. People are driving up the cost of the bags. Oh wait, where am I going? It's this way. Oopsies, oopsies. Okay. So it was 5,000 for the comfrey, and it was actually about 200 silver cheaper to buy the mushrooms over here, which I'm not farming mushrooms right now, so it doesn't really help me. How much was it? It was 5,780. So I'm farming the burdock and the comfrey. Let me write that down so we can have a bit more accurate information. All right. So the comfrey is 5,780, and then the burdocks are 8,670. All right. Let's go back and double check. Because if it's cheaper right now, I'm going to buy a bunch from him. Because it has not been. It has been substantially more money to buy from him than it has been in the marketplace. But I wonder if a lot of people are just producing potions at the moment, and they bought all the cheaper stuff. So now we've gotten to the point where it is now the adverse opposite, where it's more expensive to buy at the marketplace. Let's see. Okay. Here we go. Okay, so the comfrey was 5,780. Okay, so it's 700 silver cheaper per bag here. And what about the Burdocks? Burdocks is 8,199. Well, 8,400. Because once you buy out all these. So it's about 500 here cheaper and about 200 cheaper here. Let me go ahead and let's just buy all those and the concrete. This is why I say don't buy from him. It's turning out to be a heck of a lot cheaper to buy here. Let's do a buy order. I need, I don't know, 25 roughly. And we'll go with like, what is it, 5,700 with him. So I'll go like 5,300 and see how many I can buy. See if I can get my 20-ish that I wanted. Yep, I got them all. Ooh. All right, let's go plant some more. Now, I'll show you this as well before I go back to the island, because this is kind of a major thing with the island too, is if I hit M and I go to, not M, N, and I go to the map, right? I can go to the potion crafter or the alchemist, which are these little vials, and you just click on them and it highlights the which one. Now, obviously you want to find the cheapest. That's 595, that's 620, that's 1,000, that's 595, and that's 595. Okay, so I'm not going to craft from these guys right now, so it doesn't really matter. So I'll just go to the closest one. But there's a fee per every 100 nutrition that you use, because this is players specific crafting stations, right? So he's down here, take a right, and then it's like a building on the right. Okay. So when you're crafting, you have to keep into account for that. But know that if you're going to craft, like I say, I was going to craft this, there's a 15% return. And when you come up here to your daily activities right now, you'll see it's 10% boost on gathering gear and 20% boost on arcane staffs. Pay attention to this. The most I've seen it is 25%. I don't know if that's the cap, but pay attention to that when it comes to crafting. Look, there's a gathering wood bonus right now. 25% wood gathering, yield 50% more wood treasures. Well, that's cool. For now, them 9 hours, I need to go level up my wood crafting. Anyway, so I think I'll go do that after this. Sorry, sidetrack. But there's a 15% return, so you got to think about that when you are trying to craft something. Now, if I go here and say I use my focus, look at that. It jumps up to a 43% return, right? That is a substantial difference when you think about it when it comes to crafting your materials. You're almost getting half back of what you're investing into it. In turn, that means you could potentially get up to, 40% more product to put out there on the market. Now, while it seems very nice to have your own island, like, hey, great, let me just go ahead and use my island and pay myself rather than another player. False. If you come over here and say I wanted to craft the same thing, those minor resistance, look, you have a 0% return. Even if I do focus, I'm only up to 37%. While, yes, that is a good chunk back, the 37%. It turns out in the long run to actually be a lot better to go craft in town than it is to craft at your own. Now, I say that even though, yes, I have a tier 7 crafting station right here, and that was my intention, was to build the crafting station and then go rent a spot in town. Now, one thing I learned with that is, even though you're going to go rent in town, it costs 30 million silver to rent a plot in town. I did not know that. My mistake was I didn't check prior to investing the millions that I did to get my alchemist up to tier 7. But, you live and you learn. We all make mistakes. So just keep that in mind. Oh, crap, I'm heavy. Keep that in mind when it comes to your island. And this is why I say it's kind of like in-game content, where I made the mistake and now I'm just trying to make the best of it by trying to quickly rush into the island. I really should have reviewed that a bit more, and I didn't, but that's okay. So just think about that before you start investing a ton of money into the island. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to end up finishing all of this, and then I'm going to go in and I'm going to end up crafting some potions, and we'll see what the rate of return is. Like, is the 40% worth it or not? I mean, in the long run, yes. In short, we all know it's worth it, but what does that 40% equate to? As soon as I finish doing all of this. All right. Hey. Put that in there. Okay, there we go. Let's get this planted. Hey, stop chewing on your pulse. Oops, that's not what I meant to. Oops. Alright. So there's that. Let's go ahead and jump back on the ox. And we got to make sure that we drop off all the extras because we weigh a ton. And that. And then on this tab, we will put in all of this. I'm going to keep those out because we're about to go craft. Okay, so let's see. With the rate of return, initially we can, if I can talk to him, we can craft, let's go with the poisons, 120, right? Let's go see what it is with him. It should still say 120, but with the 37% return on 120 is what? Let's see. Do the math. 120 times 0.37. So additional roughly 44. So we normally be about 164 potions with that rate of return. Now let's go over here, and again we're gonna look at the cheapest one. 559, 620, 1,000, 559, 559. Okay. Well, we're already over here, so let's just run all the way down here and use this one. There he is. Okay. So what I say, we're gonna do the poisons, right? Yeah. Let's go ahead and use our focus for craft. And still the 120, but at 43% rather than the 37%. Let's see what our new rate of return is. So it's going to cost me 7,000 for the initial craft. So we reached our 120, and now we can craft in 50 more rather than the 44. So we're already 6 potions more. So now we've invested, what, 10,900. Now we have an additional 20. So we're sitting, what was that, 10,900 and another 11, 12, so about 12,100. And looks to be about 12,700-ish. Oh, there we go. So instead of getting 120, we ended up with 205 potions with the bonuses that we're getting from using the crafting stations in town versus the crafting stations on our island. Now, let's go see what that rate of return was. Oop, not that way. Where am I going? Right here. Because we should have been able to sell 164 potions. Let's go tier 5. And it was... what, a poison, right? Is what I did. Why am I... there we go. Tier 5 poison potion. So 165 with the market the way it is would have turned out to be... right now they're selling for 626. Roughly 105,000 silver. Now with the 205 that we have at 626, we're profiting almost 20,000 more. That's a big difference when you really think about it. And I didn't have to buy any of the herbs, because if we would have came in and had to buy the herbs, you know, now you're cutting even more into your profits. And that's why I say that the farming is nice to have on the island. Now, obviously, potions is not the way to make millions, but it's a nice chunk. But that's going to be it for the video today. Thank you for watching. If it helped you out in any sort of manner, if I gave you some wrong information or you happen to know a better way, please leave it down in the comments. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe to YouTube. And if you want to see my lives, go over to Twitch. It's going to be twitch.tv at thatguybib to watch the lives over there and come in and join me talk. Love to communicate with y'all. Love to grow the channel over there as well. But thank you for watching, and I hope to catch you on the next one. Bye-bye.